If you had to choose between an axe and a saw for your next outdoor adventure, do you know which one would be better? Now, right now, that's not a rhetorical question. I kind of do want to know which one's better. But in today's video, we're going to be testing the two so that I can answer that question and put to bed which one is better. First and foremost, the main reason that you're probably going to be carrying one of these tools is to make a fire. So it'll only be right that we make our first test about gathering firewood. We're going to make an example out of this guy. Okay, let's get started with the pack saw. And let's see how long it takes to cut a chunk of this log off of here. That took a lot less time than I thought it would. I wouldn't want to do something like that all day long. That was kind of annoying, especially compared to the chainsaw I used to cut this thing down. It's not terrible. It certainly could be worse. I have a feeling this might take the most amount of time. It's quite apparent that the tomahawk takes a lot more energy to cut something down than a pack saw. Now, this is mostly because saws are a lot more efficient when they cut something than a hatchet is. You cut something with an axe or a hatchet, you have to make a wide cut at first and taper your cut in like this. That way you actually have enough room to get your entire cutting edge into the cut. However, let me show you something that a hatchet can do that a saw can't. Now what this is right here is a setup I have made for skinning fur bearers. Now what I needed to add to this was something to secure it at the base, which is the case of this board. No matter how hard I tried, I would not be able to drive a nail with this saw, but I can always drive a nail with my hatchet. All right, let's say it's an end of the world scenario, or your significant other is mad at you, so you gotta go camping for a few days. First of all, the saw is lighter than the hatchet. Second of all, the saw takes up absolutely no space in my bag. If I try to put the hatchet in here, it's gonna stick out of the end because of the handle. It's gonna weigh more, so it's gonna be harder to carry, and it's just overall just harder to pack than the saw is gonna be. Oh. All right, well, let's go find a better example. You can look here, it doesn't seat. Look at the tip of that thing. The tip on that thing is bent now. Well, I don't know that that proved anything. The issue I have with saws is that no matter what, they're just not durable. And this isn't actually the first time I've broken this saw. You may have noticed that the bolt here isn't exactly factory standard. That's actually because the first time I took this thing out, I was sawing down some cottonwood trees, trying to clear a deer trail. And that was because my chainsaw ran out of fuel, so I couldn't use that anymore. Now what happened is, as I was using this, the bolt that holds the blade into place came out of the saw. I was able to recover most of the washers with it, but I couldn't find the bolt, and I had the saw blade. So I repaired the saw to the best of my ability, but it's still not amazing. That's just the thing that with pack saws is that pack saws are just not durable. But tomahawks, specifically this tomahawk, are different. First of all, generally, axes are made with better steels than saw blades are, and you can see just how thick this one is. This is not a lightweight tomahawk, by the way. This is a beefy tomahawk. This particular one is made out of 1055 carbon. That's a good steel. It's a very tough steel, which is obviously what you want for a tool like this. Now, the worst thing that you could possibly do to a tomahawk like this is break the handle. In that case, you can just go buy a brand new $15 handle and you'll be right back in business. Now, suppose the situation does get a little bit more dire than camping out in the woods to escape the realities of life for a few days. First of all, you need a tool that can actually do a lot of stuff, and saws are a one-trick pony. I was never really smart enough to figure out how to sharpen a saw, which is a shame, but I can tell you that sharpening one of these things is pretty easy. Come here. To sharpen a saw, you actually need a very particular type of file that is shaped like a pyramid, and then you have to, if I remember correctly, you have to get the correct slope and pitch, and then like angle too, to get to perfectly hit the tooth so that it gets sharpened. I don't even have one of those files on hand. This is the best file that I got. All you gotta do is just hit the axe at the approximate same angle at which it was originally sharpened to, until you build up a burr on the other side of your edge. Now, once you've built up a good burr, all you have to do is then hit that other side. It's cutting my fingernail pretty good, which usually means that it's sharp enough for an axe. Now, there's a pretty good reason that the mountain men and frontiersmen that explored America preferred a tomahawk and a file over a saw. Now, what you also have to consider is that both of these are little more than sharpened rocks compared to the ability of a steel farm boss. Speaking of lightweightness, usually tomahawks are lighter than this guy is. This is a heavy tomahawk. Like the mountain men were traveling with a lot lighter tomahawks than this thing. Speaking of mountain men and frontiersmen, I might have a video coming up on them here pretty soon. Now, right now, you might still be thinking that your saw is better than a tomahawk. And to that, I got one rebuttal. Can your saw do that? Now, you still might think that saws are better than hatchets. And to that, I have one rebuttal.